Welcome to this tutorial by River City Graphics. Today I'm going to be showing you how to use the radio button component in Flash. So to get started, we're going to create an ActionScript 3 document. I'm going to grab the text tool and I'm going to type, "What is my favorite color?" And once I have that done, we're going to add some radio buttons underneath to provide answers for that question. Then depending on what you select will determine what the text we're going to put at the bottom is going to render out and decide if that's the right answer or not. So we're going to grab the components next, so go to Window, Components. We're going to drag out 4 of the radio buttons to be used. And then once we've done that, we're going to also drag out a button to be used as the Submit button. And so now that I have that done, I'm going to position these relatively close to each other. And then I'm going to select them all. So I'm going to select them, go to Window, Align. I'm going to put them all to the left and then distribute the centers vertically. Now that I've done that, I'm going to position those underneath the question. And then I'm going to put the button over here. So now I've done that, we need the dynamic text box that's going to show whether or not you've selected the right answer. So I'm going to put that right at the bottom here. And like so. So the last thing we need to do is add some instance names to these radio buttons, the button, and the text field. So for each of these, I'm going to assign a color. So I'm going to say red. Then for the second one, I'm going to say green. Then for the next one, blue. And for the last one, we'll say orange. Okay, and then for the button right here, we'll just say submit. Okay, and then for the text, we're going to call it, let's just say my text. Okay, so now we have that done, we're ready to start adding some ActionScript to make this run. So I'm going to open up the Actions panel. Then the first thing we need to do is import a radio button group control. So we're going to say import space fl dot controls dot radio button group, then a semicolon. And then on the next line we need to create a group for that, so I'm going to say var group. That's the name we're going to use for our group. Then colon, it's a radio button group. I'm going to copy that. And then space equals space. And then new space radio button group. Open parenthesis, quotes, close parenthesis, semicolon. And then inside the quotes we need a name for our group, and I'm just going to call it my question. So now what we need to do, well basically first I want to explain why you need a group. For the radio buttons you need a group so that it can determine, because in a group of radio buttons you only want one to be selected at a time. And if you don't have them in a group, then it will let you select each of the buttons, and then that kind of defeats the purpose of having an answer if you can select them all. So you want to take and make a radio button group when you're working with radio buttons so that it knows which group it belongs to, so it can only select one out of each of those. So now what we need to do next is add each of those to the group. So we're going to say red.group space equals space and then group, because that was what we called our group up here, or that was the variable that we gave for our group. So now semicolon at the end of that. And then for the next ones, we just need to copy and paste that. And we'll call this one green. That's what we did call it before. And then we'll say this one's blue and orange. Okay. So now what we need to do is change the label on these radio buttons so that it doesn't say label anymore, and it'll actually say the color. So we'll say for the first one, red.label, space equals space, a couple of quotes and a semicolon. Inside the quotes, we're going to put the color, which is red. So I'm going to copy that, paste it, and then we're going to change it to green for this one, blue for this one, and orange for this one. I did not spell that right. Okay, and orange. Okay. So now that we've done that, we need to change the label on our button. So I'm going to do that by using the instance name submit that we gave it, dot label. space equals space, quotes, and a semicolon. Inside the quotes, we're going to say submit. And then on the next line, we need to come up with an event listener so that when we click on the submit button, it knows, it basically runs the function, and then it determines if it's the right answer. So we're going to say submit dot add event listener, open parenthesis, mouse event dot click in all caps, comma, and then for the function name we'll just say submit color, close parenthesis, semicolon. So now we're going to write that function, so function submit color, space, open parenthesis, event, colon, is a mouse event, capital M, capital E, close parenthesis, colon, void, open curly bracket, enter a couple times, close curly bracket, up arrow key. Now inside of this function we're going to have two if statements, so we're going to have kind of two different groups working at the same time. So the first group we're going to have is an if statement, basically saying if nothing is selected and you click this button, then nothing's really going to happen. So we're going to say if space parenthesis group dot selection space equals equals null, which means nothing was selected, close parenthesis, space, open curly bracket, hit enter a couple times, close curly bracket, up arrow key. Then we're going to just return semicolon. So that's going to basically not change really anything on our document. So which is what should happen because you haven't really selected anything. So the second thing we need to write is if something actually has happened, if you've actually selected one, we're going to say if, and then group dot selection dot label space equals equals, and then we're going to say if it equals the right answer, which the right answer is blue, my favorite color is blue. So if it equals blue, which is going to be in quotes, then we're going to close parenthesis, space, open curly bracket, enter a couple times, close curly bracket, up arrow key. Then we're going to change my text, and it's txt dot text space equals equal, or space equals space, sorry, group dot selection dot label plus is my favorite color. Great job! Exclamation point. I'll put all that in quotes. So we need to say the is and everything needs to all be in quotes. Alright, so let me explain this a little bit. So basically, if you select blue, if the group.selection.label is blue, then it's going to be correct. So we need the my text to change. It's going to say the group.selection.label, which is going to be blue. So it's going to say blue is my favorite color. Great job. So I put a space here so that it puts a space in between blue and is. So this all needs to be in quotes right here. And then you need to have a semicolon at the end. Alright, so now since we have an if statement, we're going to need an else statement. So I'm going to put a space else, and then space, open curly bracket, enter a couple times, close curly bracket, up arrow key. And then now we're going to write basically if you're wrong. So if it doesn't equal blue, then this is what's going to happen. So my text is going to, my text.text is going to be equal to group.selection. So that's whatever they selected, .label. Oh my gosh, label. Okay. Plus quotes and then a semicolon. And inside the quotes we want a space and then is not my favorite color. Try again. Okay. So now it should be working, so we're going to do control test movie. Seems we have an error here. Oh, I forgot the M in submit color. Submit color. Okay, that would ruin it because that's the function name. Alright, so we do control test movie, and now if I select nothing, you see nothing happens. That's that statement where it has it returning right here. And if I click red, which isn't my favorite color, and click submit, red is not my favorite color. Try again. Green is not my favorite color. Try again. Orange is not my favorite color, try again, and blue is my favorite color. Great job. So you can see how radio buttons can be used in Flash from this little demonstration here. A lot of people like to use them on forms for different things, maybe like a male-female selection, or you can make polls out of it. There's a lot of different applications, so I hope you guys learned something about the radio buttons from this tutorial. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and comment, and I will see you tomorrow with another component tutorial. Thanks for watching.